I am now the chair of the committee. So we thank Mr. Revels for his service. I think he was on the board for almost 10 years. And his knowledge and expertise, and he will be sorely missed by all of us on this board. So, but we will proceed. We are a small but mighty group today. At this time, I'd like to thank Henderson State University for hosting us and ask Dr. Charles Ambrose to come and give the official welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. As I mentioned yesterday during your special session, no better time to be on a college campus, right? With 2 weeks left before commencement, Henderson's first post-COVID commencement, which our students are excited about. And as you know, if you have access to college, if you work hard to complete a degree, there's nothing better on a college campus than celebrating that with your family. So we're excited about that. And to the members of the board, to the secretary and the staff of both ADE and ADHE, thank you for the work and preparation that has gone into this meeting and for your presence here at Henderson. These are extraordinary times. It'd be hard to say. I saw someone describe it this week as understanding the turbulence of higher education. So if in fact we're on any campus, 2-year, 4-year, private, public, we would all understand kind of what turbulence means. And I think some of those elements of turbulence, we would say college costs too much. Families have a hard time accessing it. It takes too long, right? Students today don't quite understand 4 years to achieve an aspiration of work career. It'd be first to acknowledge we got a skills gap. So degrees don't quite recognize the competitiveness of 22nd century skills. And certainly the last element that we know burdens families is we've surpassed $1.8 trillion in student loan debt as a part, right, of a part of the economic engine of how we fund what we call higher education. And you're going to let me advance? That's dangerous. It's all right. And so as we think about where you are on a public 4-year campus in the state of Arkansas, that in many ways is representative of, right, the systemic challenges that we all feel. And I'll confess, especially for those of us who serve in senior roles, the structural deficits that we all recognize exist. We heard reports yesterday, the institutional research that you produce as a board. We understand, right, that there are structural deficits that we all have to work hard to overcome. After 25 years as a president or chancellor, I spent most of that time thinking, like many of us did, that we could grow out of it. Grow enrollment, grow facilities, grow partnerships. And again, another commentary this week said, you know, the demographic cliff is not going to wait for 2026, right? So some of the headwinds, right, we're somewhat already feeling. And in the midst of that, unfortunately, some of those systemic disparities and some of those structural deficits manifest themselves all at one place at one time. And it's tragic because it had an impact on our faculty, it had an impact on our students, it had an impact on our communities. But at the end of the day, the 3 jobs that students hire us to do, we weren't doing a very good job of. Our enrollment was declining. You were talking yesterday about retention and our completion rates. We were not completing our students. Matter of fact, there was a time when we had more students in receivables than we had enrolled. And that's not the kind of performance metrics that higher education can carry to the marketplace and demonstrate value. While at the same time, those students left without a degree, left without the ability to access a transcript, could not transfer, and many were placed in collections. That is not the promise of college. And those are the problems we have to solve for. As we think of where we started, this was just this time last year, there were 3 structural deficits that challenged us the most. First was financial. Second was our completion rates and our student success rates. And the third was our instructional allocations and capacity. And when those three things get out of alignment, they don't go well. And not only did it require us to reimagine with two priorities set forth: first, restore the fiscal integrity of the institution. Second is to provide a sustainable platform for the future. But we had to respond rather quickly. Our academic program, in terms of the net cost of instruction up against the net tuition revenue generated, operated at a $13 million deficit annually, year over year. That adds up. Just like we think about our household funds, if you're spending more out of checking than you're bringing in, and you have to go to savings every month to pay your expenses, and you run out of savings, you don't have many other choices. And that's where Henderson found itself, especially post-pandemic, with a subsequent kind of cascade of these events piling up, right? It's more the cumulative effect. And it came to a head, and we had to respond. And we did. And I have to mention this because you are on a campus with faculty and staff who have dedicated themselves to putting students first. And they knew that hard decisions have to be made. But when you think about those hard decisions on a college campus, they're all people. 75% of every cent we spend is in the salary and benefits, livelihood, monthly income, right, of the people we support in the communities we serve. And that makes it very difficult. These individuals shouldered what can now be quantified as the most significant cost containment as a percentage of operating funds in the shortest amount of time for a public four-year institution. It was fast and it was hard. If you think about it, and again, we're only still in April. I'm kind of scratching my head that we're actually still in April. But at this time last year, the faculty and staff had a 25% furlough, giving up 20% of their income. We had flattened administrative spend, and we were in the process of identifying on a productivity basis the programs that we could keep and the programs that we were going to have to eliminate. And in that last 5 months of a fiscal year, we reduced our payroll over $7 million. That just doesn't happen. It should never have to happen. I will say it that way, because again, the impact is very detrimental. But to those first two goals, and again, I want to give certain recognition to those who live, work, and care about this place with that ready spirit you heard last night. The results in terms of fiscal integrity turned relatively quickly. We did not do that by ourselves. When Chuck Welch and the ASU Board of Trustees agreed to offer support with individuals like Julie Bates and Eric Atchison, Brad Phelps, Shane Broadway, we had resources that Henderson would have never had on our own. Not to mention the shared services, and again, this is more future facing, the shared services in finance, procurement, purchasing, back of the house support for HR and hiring. Again, that we didn't have the internal capacity, but yet in partnership as a sister institution within the ASU system, we could draw on those immediately. And I'd have to say this with them in the room. Immediately meant if we had a need, they answered the phone. Sometimes I know they'd look and say, oh my gosh, it's Chuck again, right? And would respond with support when you need it. As the legislative audit was completed and approved and accepted by the board in December, our net financial position had increased by $10 million. We were paying our bills on time. We had reduced payables from 6 million down to 1 million, and can realize positive cash flow not only last year, this year, and next year. Realizing that now we're an enrollment-driven small college that needs to diversify who our students are and increase our outcomes to restore somewhat of what college should be for the students we serve. And that really thinks about the reimagining part. The restructuring is not complete. We affectionately have called this year zero because you're somewhat putting the pieces back together again. But we are very excited about the potential of year one. And again, it may be more timely than we recognize to have partners on our campus, including our sister two-year institutions, including our K-12 partners with the department. But if we think differently about who our students are and how we can serve them and work together, we can actually create win-win-wins across an ecosystem where scarce resources have to be utilized in partnership with others to maximize outcomes. You asked yesterday about retention. We've had retention plans on college campuses for 3 decades, and our retention rates in some institutions have improved slightly. But if you went into any other industry and said your completion rates, your success rates for your customers to achieve their aspirations was 66%, they'd say you're doing what? See work? So to think differently about student success, to align our workforce and to align our programs and to align our partnerships to the 3 jobs students hire us to do: open the door of access and opportunity, provide individualized and personalized support so they have the math skills, the college readiness, the financial literacy to actually get across the finish line with a degree, and to create degrees, as the state of Arkansas has said, that meets the community needs, the high demand skills, those gaps in services and support that really block social sustainability. When we align programs to those needs, students will find value in college. And so the Henderson story is the story actually of all of us. We all have a sense of what our students need and what we have to do to provide it. Financially, there are hard decisions, I think, that we all face. The other learned lesson of the last several years for Henderson is just don't wait too long. We're grateful for you being here. We look forward to creating the future of higher education with you from Henderson State. And again, I couldn't think of a better semester for you to be on our campus for your meeting. Glad you're here.
Thank you, Dr. Ambrose. At this time, I'm going to ask our new Secretary of Education, Dr. Jacob Oliva, to come up to the podium. He's going to talk to us about the latest session and the LEARNS Act.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So thank you for the opportunity to address the board in person. I think I've had brief moments earlier throughout the past few months to meet everybody online, but to be here in person and be a part of the workshop yesterday and be a part of today's meeting is a privilege, because I think this is an exciting time for education. And I think Dr. Ambrose really summed up well about reimagining Henderson. I think we could carry that theme and talk about reimagining learning for all students. And when you look at the data that you looked at yesterday about completion and attainment and retention rates, we know that if students are going to be set up for success in post-secondary opportunities in those K-12 foundational years, we got to get some of those pieces right and make sure that when the students graduate with a high school diploma, they're on that path to reach those post-secondary goals, but also just to be successful in life. So we've been engaged with a lot of initiatives, working with the legislature and supporting Governor Sanders' vision on how we can improve learning and how we can improve outcomes in the state of Arkansas. If you look at where Arkansas ranks kind of nationally, historically, for the past couple decades, in 4th and 8th grade, in those primary subject areas of literacy and math, it's a little disheartening. And we know that there's opportunities for improvement. And when you consistently rank in the mid 40s out of 50, we know we can do some things better. And if we're going to build a pipeline of talent to post-secondary opportunities, like we're sitting here today, or make sure students are ready to enter the workforce or join the military, start their own businesses, and be successful in life, improving those rankings is important for the state, but it's also important for the students. So we've been fortunate that we've had a strong vision and a blueprint known as the LEARNS Act that Governor Sanders had been working on, identifying some of those important pieces that if we can get these systems a little bit better aligned, we'll get some of these outcomes measures improved. So that blueprint that she had been working on for the last 2 years came about from meeting with college presidents, meeting with professors, meeting with business people, teachers, principals, superintendents, elected officials, to say, what are some of those key things that we need to improve so that we can see better outcomes? That blueprint turned into a bill that we worked with the legislature on recently, that's now signed into law, and we've hit the ground running, working with superintendents and working with this board and in higher ed and in early learning to see that be implemented with fidelity. And what I like to say about the Learns, and just kind of introduce a little bit about the Learns and some of the work we're working on and how this work's going to have us be a little bit more engaged as partners as well, is it's everything I like to say from cradle to career. And it's taking kind of some fragmented pieces and components and unifying it under one vision and under one agency. And it really starts with early learning environments. And when we really look at kind of a state of the state, and we want to look at where learning begins, it begins at home, it begins in quality childcare programs, and it begins in pre-kindergarten. And one of the things that we've been tasked with is identifying students that have access, or families that have access to this high quality learning environments. And there's a very harsh reality that there's a lot of deserts and islands throughout this state, where you have parents that want to participate in early childcare programs, but lack opportunity. So we're working on taking about 5 or 6 different early learning programs, which is interesting because depending on the program, funding depends on who oversees that program and who has a definition of what quality is and who has a definition of what kindergarten readiness is. Putting that under one agency, and so that when we start building out those early years of a child's educational journey, that we have a program that supports the student and not fragmented systems. This is a big deal when we look at those pathways that we talked a lot about yesterday for setting up students for success, because there's a metric that's really important when we look at the predictor of a student being successful in high school and a student being successful in post-secondary opportunities. And that is this percentage of students reading at or above grade level in 3rd grade. And when we look at that metric right now in the state of Arkansas, it's really low. And we know that we can do a much better job at investing in those early literacy areas to see that number improve. Well, a lot of that starts with kindergarten readiness. You can almost draw a straight line from the students that come to school ready to learn in kindergarten. And if you're not ready to learn in kindergarten, there's a highly likeliness that you're not ready to continue your learning at 3rd grade. 3rd grade is an important metric because we look at what happens in those early primary years as where students are learning how to read. And then when they get past 3rd, 4th, 5th grade and beyond, they're reading to learn. So if a student has gaps or holes in those foundational years, we need to make sure they're still getting access to intervention and access to the support they need in filling those gaps and holes so that they can be successful throughout their academic journey. What the Learns Bill does is really have us organize and reimagine that early learning space, invest heavily in supporting teachers and leaders and giving them the resources and training they need around the science of reading, the evidence-based approaches that we know that work. And if we do identify that students have gaps, ensure that they're on a path with an intervention plan and a high quality educator receive the interventions and supports they need so that they can be successful. As we go through building out those foundational years, we start hitting those pivotal years in a student's journey where they start hitting that kind of middle school phase. And that's where we need to start having a better conversation about, where do you want to go after high school? Where do you want to be? What are the courses that we can start putting you in to put you on your own personal path? The Learns Bill asks us really to start making sure we start having career kind of planning conversations with students as early as middle school. And I'm not saying 3rd graders or 6th graders need to determine what they want to be in life, but if they can understand the relevancy of what they're learning and how it applies to the world around them, then that's a bigger win. I was a former high school principal early in my tenure, as I've gone through many different leadership roles throughout my journey to Arkansas. And one thing that we used to do at a high school that every high school does is have that freshman orientation night. If you're a parent or been through school, you know what it's like to set up the gym and you have all the programs and activities and extracurriculars and co-curriculars, and you meet with freshmen and you meet with families and get them registered and signed up to get excited about learning. But one thing that used to always frustrate me greatly as a high school principal on freshman orientation night is the number of students and families that I would talk to that had not thought about where they wanted to be in 4 short years. And the reality is, a lot of doors were already closed. If you're walking into high school saying, I want to be here, I want to be in a pre-engineering program or international baccalaureate program or advanced place coursework, because some of those prerequisites to be on that path or that journey has to happen in middle school. So that's why I was elated to hear the conversation that this board was having around building out those math paths and saying, what can we do in the K-12 system to make sure that when students leave K-12, they can go straight into college algebra or higher and not have to go into remedial math. The likeliness of students when they have to go to remedial math, having a successful academic post high school experience is really low. And we know we want to make sure that if students are leaving our systems and have gaps or holes, how do we work with the colleges and higher ed professors to identify what we can do a better job of making sure that those goals exist? But it really starts about acceleration. And one of the things that I'm excited about with the LEARNS bill is it gives us the opportunity to develop what we call progress monitoring systems that'll be statewide, specifically designed in the K1 and 2 space, then as well as the 3 through 10 space. Because a lot of times we want to focus the dialogue or conversation around intervention and filling in gaps, but we need to find opportunities to push acceleration. And we're going to flip that mindset to be that we're not going to be a remedial state. We're going to be an accelerated state. And we're going to make sure that these pathways for students to be on a journey of acceleration exist for every single student. I firmly believe that all students can learn, and we got to create the conditions as adults to set them up for success to do just that. Some of the work that we're going to be even more tightly engaged in with this board and some of those components that we're excited about working with this board and the state board when it comes to LEARNS is we know that every student isn't on a path to university, and not every student isn't on a path to a state college or technical center. And we need to create pathways as early as elementary, middle, and high school to have multiple exit ramps and on-ramps that can make sure that this journey will lead to a destination that sets the student up for success. And we're one of the tasks that we're able to work with, and we're putting together rules workforce committees to help develop the rules around this, is that we're tasked with creating a career high school diploma and looking at how can we work with high schools to design programs of completions where students can earn credentials of value, earn industry certification, stackable credentials that will lead them towards a high school diploma that will then articulate, if they choose to a post-secondary institution. And that's something that I think is really is innovative, and it's exciting, and it's something that's much needed. There's a lot of other components in this comprehensive, robust package about empowering parents, making sure that there's choice opportunities for families, but it's really an investment in the local public schools. And just like we talk about some of the local colleges and the local institutions, if we can invest in zip codes and if we can invest in communities, then we know we're going to see better outcomes. And that's what we're really here to talk about and what we're really going to double down in. And we know that there's a lot of opportunity, especially around some of these math pathways. We're working with our higher education partners with teacher preparation programs. And when you look at kind of those K-12 spaces, we know the number one impact on student achievement going up is the teacher standing in front of the class each and every single day. So how can we work a little bit tighter on making sure teachers are leaving our teacher preparation program ready to teach on day one, and make sure that these students are set up for success? If we can get this vision of 90 to 100% of our third graders at or above grade level, which I very strongly believe that we can do as a state. The talent is here. The talent is in this room. The talent is in our classrooms. Then we're setting up students to be on a path for success that will articulate to more students coming to our post-secondary institutions ready to learn. And it starts all the way from this robust vision of reform from cradle to career. And we're going to slowly move towards achieving these goals. And we've been working on this since day one. And I know for our team at our agency, we're not going to stop till we get all these pieces right. So I just wanted to come in and say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of the conversation. I know there's been a little bit of transition as we're looking at next steps and leaders to work with our agency on engaging in this work. I know we've been working with the governor's office and they're looking at identifying a candidate hopefully here pretty soon as they know we need to act with urgency and getting these the right people in place to lead this work. And as we've kind of navigated the past couple of weeks, I'd like to commend the staff at the higher ed agency because we can't go backwards. There's been a lot of great work happening. This has been a wonderful session for everybody, especially in higher education, and we're going to implement all these policies and move this work forward, because at the end of the day, it's about supporting students, whether they're in kindergarten or whether they're getting ready to walk across the stage here in a couple of weeks at Henderson with a baccalaureate degree. So I'm excited to be here, and I look forward to engaging in the conversation and working a little bit closer with everybody here. And just wanted to share a little bit of our vision that we have moving forward, and know that we're not going to do it alone, but we're going to do it together.
Thank you, Secretary. We appreciate your leadership and you being here today to talk to us more about the LEARNS Act. That we look forward to working with you on this.
Thank you.
There you go.
Like that. I now call the full board meeting to session. Everybody will take their seats. So hopefully we can get in and get out of here for lunch. We do have a few action items on our agenda for this meeting. So item number 1 is the minutes of the January 27th, 2023 regular meeting and the February 16th special meeting. These are on page 1-1 of your agenda book. Are there any questions or changes to these minutes that are needed?
I move they be accepted as presented.
Second.
Information, agenda item number 2, agency updates. Mason Campbell will present the agency updates for us.
Thank you. I'll be super brief. In your board book, you can see a number of professional development events and trainings across the state that our agency has engaged in. And then I just want to highlight 2 new team members at the division. Crystal Morgan is our new program specialist. She comes to us from UA Monticello. We stole her, as we like to do. Sonia is incredibly happy to have her on our data and information systems team, and she has absolutely hit the ground running. And then Dr. Tina Moore comes to us as the Director of Workforce Development. She previously served in various roles, leading STEM, computer science, and mathematics initiatives across the state. So we stole her as well. So we're very lucky to have both of them with us. I think that's it.
Welcome to the team for our new members. Information agenda item number 3 is going to be our viability report. Mr. Campbell will also present the viability report for us.
Thank you, Chair Bigger. So this is a continuation of the report that we delivered to the board in January of 23. So not typically an April quarterly report, but so after today, it will always be in January. As we briefly discussed yesterday, and you all saw in January, these are our viability standards, always based on a 3-year average, depending on the type of the program. And as you'll see after the analysis of the programs in January, the ADHE academic affairs staff requested some additional time to meet with chief academic officers to engage in a more comprehensive discussion regarding their non-viable programs. Our staff required in-depth meetings with all the CAOs and often deans and other campus staff to essentially uncover the elements of these programs that may influence viability that we can't see in the data. And although most of these conversations were not easy, all of the institutions came to the table, of course, willing to follow policy and make necessary adjustments. And in most instances, institutions also use the opportunity to look holistically at the health of all of their programs. So it was a great process that we got to engage in. One of the more difficult barriers was that our previous viability report was not designed to make determinations based on multiple 3-year averages at one point in time. And we were only delivering every 3 years. So we teamed up with the information system staff to develop a new report that included a total of 5 years. So academic year 18 through 22. With a list of programs that exceeded 2 additional years after initially being identified as non-viable. And this graphic illustrates the academic years that are considered and how those averages overlap within the 5 years between 18 and 22. So keeping in mind that this report that you're seeing today focuses on programs beyond the 2 additional years after being identified as non-viable. The yellow boxes here indicate the initial 3-year average. And then we consider 2 additional 3-year averages beyond to determine whether the program needs to be removed or not. So the new report allowed us to see if a program may have achieved viability somewhere within that 5-year window instead of just a snapshot every 3 years. So in short, over the period of 5 years, if a program is viable anywhere in there, it's not yet considered for deletion within viability. It may be considered non-viable, but not yet up for deletion. So through this process, institutions were given the opportunity to reasonably justify retaining programs based on various considerations allowed within policy. And these are these descriptors here that you see on your screen are not all they're not all program deletions. Sometimes institutions chose to willingly follow internal AHECB programmatic policy to remove the programs. And this is absolutely an incredible step in the right direction. It indicates a renewed commitment to the policy and process, but I don't want to sugarcoat it. The difficulty or the gravity of removing this many programs across the state, we're actually through this process, we removed over 132 programs across all institutions. So after all of our great work with the institutions, we'll have 16 remaining programs on this non-viable list before you in today, and you can see the descriptions of those in your board book. And once all the programs were identified as non-viable and could not be justifiably removed, the institutions were given the option to either follow internal programmatic policy change to remove them or simply leave them on the list. So if the board does not object, these programs will be removed effective on May 1st. And that is my full report.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to action agenda item number 4, rules governing the Student Undergraduate Research Fellowship Program. Alicia Lewis will present the rules governing this fellowship program.
Good morning. The Arkansas Division of Higher Education administers the Student Undergraduate Research Fellowship Program within the policy set forth by this coordinating board. The focus of the SURF program is for continued development of undergraduate academic research efforts in institutions of higher education and to provide funding to encourage students to conduct this in-depth research projects that benefit the state. The awards are made in conjunction with the faculty panel. With their input, Chair Bigger, we propose a modification of the scoring objectives as outlined in agenda item 6.
Are there any questions this time?
Can you help me understand the change in the grading criteria? And I believe this may help clarify who is and is not in STEM. Am I saying that correctly?
That's correct. We have, the budget is $150,000 and 60% of that per our policy goes to STEM research projects. And in order to make sure that we are allocating that money properly, we didn't have a method in order to really judge and assess the non-STEM areas. So we added an additional rubric to the overall grading system so that we could distinguish more clearly between the two.
And that will solely distinguish between the two, not falsely create more STEM. Is that correct?
Correct.
Any other questions? Just to clarify for everyone in the audience, and we have a quorum because we do have two voting members on Zoom as well still, correct? Okay. So Dr. Kyle Miller and Kevin Anderson are on Zoom as well this morning. There are no other questions. Do I hear a motion to approve the rules governing the Student Undergraduate Research Fellowship Program?
So moved.
Second.
Action agenda item number 5, Arkansas Health Education Grant Program request for contract reallocation. Ms. Lewis will present this as well for us this morning.
The Arkansas Division of Higher Education administers a grant program for Arkansas students and a forgivable loan program to assist Arkansas students attending specified out-of-state health and medical professional schools. This is known as the Arkansas Health Education Grant, or AHECB. According to the legislation, the Arkansas Higher Education Coordinating Board is authorized to enter into direct contracts with selected accredited schools to ensure the needs of the state are being met by the institutions participating in this program. Currently, there are 13 chiropractic slots in the AHECB program. The Arkansas Chiropractic Physicians Association is requesting the 13 AHECB slots be reallocated as shown on the screen.
Do you
I
know
would
what the
be happy to
criteria
answer
is
any-
for choosing or deleting a school?
We lean heavily on the Chiropractic Association to determine the outcomes and the placement of the schools.
And they have either recommended or not opposed the 0 for Texas Chiropractic College in Pasadena.
That is exactly the recommendation.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion to approve the Arkansas Health Education Grant Program request for contract reallocation?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. So at this time, I will present the report on the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee has recommended the approval of agenda item number 6. Do I hear a second to approve agenda item number 6 based on the Finances Committee report?
Second.
Next on our agenda, report of the Academic Committee and the approval of those agenda items. The Academic Committee has reviewed items 15 and 16, and we recommend the approval of agenda items 8 through 14. Do I hear a second to approve agenda items 8 through 14 based on the Academic Committee's report?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this time, we open the floor to any presidents and chancellors who wish to address the board this morning. Are there any comments? Y'all are hungry. Okay. Just one announcement, our next quarterly meeting will be July 28th at Northwest Arkansas Community College in Bentonville. With that, do I hear a motion to adjourn this morning?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all for being here today and safe travels home.